Hey everyone, I'll start by saying this. Chapter 14 of The Mandalorian was awesome, but if you haven't seen it, please just save this video for later as it is all about spoilers. So this episode begins with a necessary moment between Din Djarin and Grogu. We see Din is using his name and continuing to test his powers the same way he did with Ahsoka on Corvus. Din is developing from the notorious bounty hunter who cranked out jobs like a machine to a father-like figure to Grogu. But this touching scene turns from a bonding moment between the two to a more somber moment when Din realizes that the time seems to be approaching when he is going to have to give up Grogu. The two are on their way to the planet Tython, because Ahsoka Tano told them that this would be the best way to find a Jedi. Now, if you didn't know, the Jedi are an ancient order, and in both canon and Legends material, there are sites just like this one that are strong with the Force, as they were often Jedi temples. There are several contenders for the site of the first Jedi temple, and this site on the planet Tython is one of them. Din places Grogu on the Seeing Stone, but it isn't till Grogu places his hand on the rock that anything even happens. This stone must be similar to the one Luke and Rey use on Ahch-To in Last Jedi, another ancient Jedi temple. Just as the stones fire up and Grogu goes into a deep meditation, Boba Fett's iconic Slave One enters the atmosphere and lands just below the hill the Seeing Stone is on. I could not believe my eyes when I saw that ship. I don't think there was a better way to officially reintroduce us to Boba Fett. Sure, we got to see that he was still alive in Chapter 9, but now we actually get to interact with him, and Boba Fett did not disappoint. No doubt one of the coolest aspects of Din's interaction with the infamous bounty hunter is Boba's referral to his father Jango Fett. Hearing Temuera Morrison say the line, "I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the galaxy, like my father," was incredible. Boba was there when his father said those same words to the Jedi Knight Obi-Wan Kenobi on Kamino. And probably one of the most important lore-building facts we get from this episode is the confirmation that Jango was a Mandalorian, specifically a Mandalorian foundling, which is what Din himself is. By creed, a Mandalorian could not abandon a child they found on mission or in battle, so children that were found by the Mandalorians were thus called foundlings. In Season 1, we learned that Din was found by Death Watch during the Clone Wars. Jango being a foundling confirms that he was a Mandalorian regardless of what Minister Almec said during the Clone Wars. It also means that his son Boba is then a Mandalorian. Now, I'm sure the majority of people watching The Mandalorian were not even aware that Boba and Jango's status as Mandalorians was ever in question, but it was nice to get this debate cleared up. We also find out that Boba is not working alone. In Chapter 5, Din helps the rookie bounty hunter Toro Calican bring in Fennec Shand. However, Toro ends up shooting her and leaving her for dead. Sometimes, fate steps in to rescue the wretched. In Fennec's case, fate was Boba Fett. Boba explains to Din that he has been tracking him in order to get his armor back. Remember, Din has Boba Fett's armor from Cobb Vanth in the first episode of Season 2. I seriously love seeing Temuera Morrison portray Boba Fett, as well as call back to his previous role as Jango Fett. He even does that gun twirl at the end of the battle. Quickly after meeting Fett and Fennec, the Empire arrives and there is an epic action sequence where the duo fight off waves of stormtroopers while Din tries to break through to Grogu. There isn't a whole lot that I'm going to break down in this fight, except that Boba's melee weapon is a Tusken Raider gaffy stick, which makes me wonder if he spent some time with the Tusken Raiders while on Tatooine. Remember, this takes place about 5 years after he fell into the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi. So there really is a lot of backstory to Boba Fett that I hope we get to see, whether it's in The Mandalorian or not. Boba and Fennec are able to handle themselves against the stormtroopers, but eventually they do begin to get overwhelmed until Din Djarin jumps in. But again, he and Fennec begin to be overwhelmed. Until that is, Boba drops from the sky. He's now wearing his iconic armor that he got from the Razor Crest. After blasting some troopers with his knee shotgun, How epic was that? The stormtroopers retreat to their transports only to be blown out of the sky. Just when victory seems at hand, things turn sour quickly though when the Razor Crest is blown to smithereens by an Imperial cruiser. The stormtroopers were clearly just the first wave to make a way for the real threat, the Dark Troopers. The Dark Troopers surround the Seeing Stone as Grogu is finishing up his meditation, and they take him back up to the cruiser and Moff Gideon. The next scene is Din going through the wreckage of his ship. The only things to survive is the ball that Grogu plays with and the Beskar spear. One of these items gives him the hope that he can bring Grogu back, and the other item gives him the means to stop those who took him. Thankfully, Boba seems to be an honorable man and not only provides Din a ride off of Tython, but he and Fennec also pledge to help Din until Grogu is safely returned to him. I really enjoyed Boba Fett in this. He wasn't just epic in a fight, but it was clear that he had grown to become a man like his father Jango. Now, Jango Fett was a bounty hunter who often served people like Count Dooku, but he always had the reputation of being an honorable man. After his death, young Boba meets several individuals who lament his father's death, highlighting that he was honorable. But I think Boba sets down a slightly darker path of anger between Attack of the Clones and even up to his tumble into the Sarlacc pit. Boba had made more of a name for being cold and ruthless, especially if you look at some of the comics. But it seems that the past 5 years between the Sarlacc pit and his role in The Mandalorian have changed Boba. Anyways, that's just a thought on my part. Slave 1 lands on Navarro 7 where Din talks to Marshal Cara Dune. We found out that she had become the marshal of the town in Chapter 12, but now she is a marshal operating under the umbrella of the New Republic. She has to play by the rules now. Din wants information on Mayfeld. This was a character we were introduced to in Season 1 when Din helps a group of mercenaries free a prisoner from the New Republic. Honestly, I was pretty unimpressed by the prospect of seeing him again, but I'm sure it will be fine in the end. Moff Gideon finally has Grogu back in his possession, and we see that the youngling is basically using the Force to toss stormtroopers around like ragdolls. Now, I know a lot of people watched this scene and immediately connected this to the theory that Grogu will become a dark-side user, and sure, maybe this is foreshadowing a darker path ahead for Grogu. However, I think it's more likely meant to show us that this is a child who is powerful in the Force and is in need of proper training. Maybe that's Luke. The episode was fantastic. It was so good to see Boba Fett back in action, really proving that he really is the original Star Wars Mandalorian. With 2 episodes left of the season, I'm assuming Din will assemble a team of characters that we have met over the course of the season to go and rescue Grogu and confront Gideon. I mean, this would keep in pattern with the first season after all, wouldn't it? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode and I hope this breakdown was a little bit helpful for you. As always, have a great rest of your day and may the Force be with you.